The latest in the Tesla saga. Shares down 7% after what began this morning as a reaction to the Joe Rogan interview that involved Mr. Musk, CEO of Tesla, of course, smoking a little pot, drinking a little whiskey, but now the story also involves some executive departures that have developed in the past couple hours here. Gene Munster, a longtime investor in the company and managing partner at Loup Ventures. Gene, great to have you here today. So what kind of started out this morning as some would argue kind of a funny interview, it's kind of turned serious a little bit. What does all this mean to you as we look at departures on the HR side, an accounting executive that just started a month ago?
So I think, first of all, let's talk about Elon's actions, recreational drug use, everything that's happened in the past few months. And I think it is getting harder and harder to support Tesla as a company because of those actions. His actions are undeniably tied to Tesla because Elon is Tesla. And maybe one more finer point on that is that, well, that may be illegal in the state of California. It is, in the eyes of investors, an unspoken rule that as a public CEO, that kind of behavior is not accepted. So I think that is an important piece of this. That said, I think that, I don't want in this conversation to be lost that I still think that there's more upside to the shares of Tesla, in part because of his seemingly relaxed attitude, probably is because he feels some form of confidence about what the September numbers are going to look like, what the profitability is going to be, and that's probably going to be a net positive. So I think the big picture is unacceptable behavior, but the business is probably doing fine, and we'll know more about that in the first week of October. So to get to your question about some of the executive departures, in particular the chief accounting officer, never good when an accounting person leaves, especially just after a month. Yeah. And it is worth just mentioning that the person did, usually if an accounting person leaves and there's something that's nefarious with the accounting, they'll say they left for personal reasons and leave it at that. In this case, he did take the extra step of saying that he feels confident in the accounting around Tesla. And so I think that it is more of a sign of how difficult it is to work in this pressure cooker environment. And maybe this person has some concerns about the long-term viability of Tesla. I don't think it's anything representative of anything near-term.
Yeah, and I thought it was interesting as well. A few points there that I want to address that you bring up, Gene. One, there with the accounting officer, said that he has confidence in the company. Also said, I think to your point, that he was surprised and taken aback, didn't want to be a part of all the publicity involving Tesla, was also in that statement. Gene, has there ever been a time where a bet on Tesla is more a bet on Mr. Musk? Because when we're interpreting why he's comfortable smoking pot on a YouTube broadcast as maybe being positive for the stock, that's a weird place to be.
It's a weird place to be. It's not a place that we want to be. I think that what he's doing is making a mistake. More broadly, I mean, we have to do our job and try to interpret what's going on, and so that's why we come to those conclusions. I think that's probably the right conclusion, is that things are fine. But, I think it does get back to this idea of, what's acceptable behavior. I think, when you think about Musk, and one of the things that drives him is proving his doubters wrong.
Right. And
I think it's just core to who he is. The irony here is that if he wants to prove his doubters wrong, he should just get off Twitter, change how he acts, drop the whole Unsworth conversation, and don't use recreational drugs on YouTube.
Yeah. And
because in the place of that, he's proving his doubters right. So there's kind of this weird conflict about, if he truly wants to prove them wrong, this doesn't seem to be the best method to do it.
Gene, you made waves when you wrote an open letter to Mr. Musk through your firm. I'm wondering, with this information today, what would you want to ask Mr. Musk? What message would you want to deliver at this point?
I think it would just be a reiteration of what we said a month ago. We felt like that there was some movement just from him being more measured on social media and some of his apologies to some analysts that he had taken offense to. But it seems like things have kind of regressed since then. So there wouldn't be a lot that we would add to that letter. It's just simply reiterating that now more than ever is the time to make a change. And I'm less confident that that's going to happen because he's had an opportunity to think about this, and he seems to want to be firmly committed to going in a different direction. So,
yeah.
I do want to leave people with the big picture here is that I do still believe in Tesla's mission, the wonderful mission to accelerate the globe's adoption of renewable energy. It sounds odd to even talk about that today, and that, I think, is a piece that is really important to the story that gets missed, and I do think that the company is going to be successful at capitalizing on that.
Gene, another item yesterday, Andrew left to Citron Research suing Elon Musk for stock manipulation around the funding secured tweet and the privatization saga that came and went. All that put together, is there a line eventually that will be drawn in the sand where investors like yourself are going to ask for someone else to run this company? Are you thinking about that more?
I think that Elon should always have he has a unique way to bring special forces into these companies to fix problems by drawing from SpaceX, different teams within Tesla. The average Tesla employee doesn't pay a ton to Twitter. They're definitely going to be paying attention to what happened yesterday. But, as far as what's best for the company, it's best that Elon stays involved. But what's also best, too, is that there's a steady hand brought in around this. And I think that every investor would support that.
So you still have faith in Elon as the CEO today, Gene?
I do. I think that this is not how I would do it, no doubt, but I still think that when you put all the options on the table, it's still best that he continues, and I still think that they will be successful.
All right, let's talk about that because the profitability is supposed to be around the corner. Mr. Musk tweeted a report that their August sales were number 1, 2, and 3 in category. Earlier this week, UBS said, yeah, they might turn positive for the quarter, but it may not last. What do you make of that? Even if we do see a positive number, is it going to be something that's sustainable?
I think it will, because I think demand for the car is sustainable, and I think that they are still selling the most expensive versions of the Model 3. They haven't opened up the cheaper, lower range batteries and the lower priced options, which is a positive sign for demand. As long as there's great demand for Model 3, the story is going to work. I mean, it's a pretty simple math that goes that can make or break this company. I do believe that they will show a profit in September. I think that investors, there will be shorts who will short on any sort of an uptick on that because of this sense that it's not sustainable. When you have behavior like Elon's doing, investors are going to be skeptical until we see a pattern, and the pattern is going to have to take 2 or 3 quarters of profitability before they really fully endorse that this company has reached escape velocity.
Gene, real quick before we let you go, for those watching in your fund or looking at the fund that you guys just launched, the ETF, remind me in the management of that, is that active? Will you change the Tesla holdings as a part of that? I know it's not a top holding in it, but is that active to the point where you make a call on that, or is it based on market cap or what?
It's based on revenue growth and earnings growth, and so it's part of we select 50 companies into a universe, and then the algorithm picks the 30, and so we don't have a say in terms of how the algorithm works.
I see. All right. Well, we were going to talk about AMD, the second biggest one in there, which is moving the opposite direction. But Gene, we got to leave it there today. Great to have you. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Oliver.